Okay, we are broadcasting in the pre-show, like the 5 minutes before we actually start. I'm joined here by Dan.
Hello.
We were chatting beforehand. I think this is gonna be a good one. I kind of
It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good. Ja-Mez couldn't join us tonight, so I thought I'm sorry. I was just kind of eager because I just saw. Maybe I'll talk about that in the actual podcast, but I chose this topic because I really love this game, but I know Ja-Mez also really loves this game, which is probably why he's joining us in chat, because he probably wants to weigh in. So I felt a little bad, but at the same time, I'm a little eager to talk about it. So
yeah, I noticed you were kind of shaking in that chair a little bit there.
So still tells me starting soon. It vanished.
It vanished. Where did you
And
go?
we have video. Okay, good.
Don't scare us like that. We're on
Every
a
time-
really.
Last week was like really harrowing because we had Ja-Mez's super webcam that just YouTube just did not know what to do
It
with
was too
it. It was
powerful.
super, so it kept freezing every 10 minutes, and people were like, "Hey, Angel and Ink," and people were like, the chat was going wild with like, "It froze again, it froze, I lost it. I was getting so stressed out because of it. So
It's not my fault.
we're just back to my crappy webcam, which, I should move this, actually, to the center.
It's not all about you, Manda.
It's not all about me, but I like to think it is.
Though, admittedly, I can be a lot louder than you are. If I choose to be.
If you choose to be. So, there it is! There's the Jezebel, and I'm glad the video is working. So, on the one hand, we don't have as good quality as we did last week, but on the other hand, you can still hear us, and that's what's important in a podcast. And we're just sitting here, post-dinner. I have to clean up my kitchen after this. Fun.
She really does.
Yeah. I cleaned it like 3 times today because I cooked 3 times today.
Why are you cooking 3 times in one day?
Because I wanted to make zucchini. I should get zucchini bread. How long do I have? 3 minutes. I could totally get zucchini bread.
Whoa, you're not just going to leave me here while you go
Enjoy
Manda,
your podcast.
you invite me over here, and then you just leave me here?
Zucchini.
You leave me to the wolves? They're going to tear me apart, Manda. I'm not used to being on camera by myself like this. You know this.
You did fine.
Oh, she's evil-eyeing me.
You were good. You're fine.
At least your webcam. Yes, we do have a stable webcam. Hello to all 3 Geek fans. It's Dan the Video Ninja here, filling in for Manda because she ran off to get zucchini bread.
I got zucchini bread.
So between that and tonight's topic, you're just sitting pretty, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. This is pre-breakfast. How long have you been sleeping, Laura?
Entertaining. I'm trying. Your webcam has failed. Your webcam has not failed.
No,
It
it's not.
is too powerful for the YouTube.
Mhm.
YouTube cannot comprehend its awesomeness.
Dan was telling me that the things like Justin TV and Twitch, was it?
Yeah, the ones that are actually built for live
streaming.
streaming can usually handle better cameras. This being through Google and YouTube, it's everybody has access to it because it's Google. So it's smaller tubes for information because there's a lot more of those tubes because everybody has YouTube.
Yeah.
But if you go on something like Twitch or Justin TV or Livestream.com, I think it is, or any of those, those are built for just YouTube or just live streaming. So they could probably handle your camera a lot better than Google ever will.
My zucchini bread turned out really well, Angel and Ink. I really like it. It's not too moist, but it's not dry either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just had to
Manda, you do not have to play the arrow roll.
Oh, she will. Don't encourage her. Especially when it's just the 2 of us. She loves the opportunity to play the arrow roll. It's her chance to get cathartic revenge for the whole situation. Case in point, zucchini bread.
Zucchini bread.
And
it's delicious.
apparently nuclear holocaust in your kitchen that happened for you to actually make it.
It did not have. That's just my dish. I had to wash my dish rack too. That's why that's in the sink. It's actually not dirty. It's just 3 big pots. When you think about it, 3 big pots. That's it.
I'm more of a clean freak than you are anyway, so I'm
yeah, you are. Yep.
Manda comes over to my place, and I'm just like, it's a little untidy by my standards, and I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry about the mess, and she's just like, I can't see the reflection of all the cleanliness blinding me.
Alright, what time is it there?
It's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock, let me swallow this, and we'll begin officially.
Merle? I guess you're Merle now. M-R-R-O-L.
Merle.
You're not Merle. Well, you are Merle, but...
Nom. Okay.
Deep breath, man.
Deep breath. Hello and welcome to 3 Geeks in a Pod. I'm Manda and I'm joined today by my friend Dan.
Hello.
The Video Ninja.
Wow.
In case you didn't know, he's appeared on previous podcasts before. He's also does a lot of my editing work for
all of it
for the Witless Letters.
For the Witless Letters.
Yeah. So he does all my Witless Letters. We collaborate on those, and he's just a generally awesome guy. He's also my game partner, meaning that when I have games I can't play, I just give them to him and watch. And,
our most recent adventure being BioShock Infinite.
BioShock Infinite.
Which we basically came to an understanding about that game, being that it was just so good, it had so much awesome action, but also a really compelling story.
Yeah.
Manda was there for the story, and I was the one playing it because I could handle the shooty bits.
Yeah. So yes, and Ja-Mez couldn't be here tonight. Well, he's in chat, which, by the way, if you are joining us, we do have a chat. It's debsandarrow.com/chat. You can join us there, and we'll try and respond to as many comments as we can. Just a note, there is a bit of a lag with there, so when you type something in or when we answer something, you're probably not going to hear it until about a minute to a minute and a half after we say it. You can also find us on YouTube, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter, all of which is 3 Geeks in a Pod, and that's the number 3. So, without further ado, I guess we'll start tonight. There's just a couple of things.
Sorry.
A couple of things we wanted to plug first, a couple of things we wanted to talk about.
Get comfortable.
I'm getting comfortable with my pillow and my turret and my
wine.
So I'm supposed to know it's wine.
Grape juice.
Grape juice.
Yeah.
Oh yes, the BioShock videos. Oh yeah, watch the BioShock videos. So Dan and I have been doing a Let's Play of BioShock Infinite. Now, if you're the type of person who
I must release them more often, Ja-Mez. I do 1 a day.
He does 1 a day.
How much more often do you want? What do you want from me, man? The reason why I do it once a day is 2 reasons. 1, it takes like 4 or 5 hours to upload one of those things because I record them in HD.
Yeah.
So it takes 4 or 5 hours to upload those, which means I have to set my web browser uploading for like 4 hours, which means I set it uploading and I go to work for the day. Then I get home later on at night and it's done and that's it. The other reason is because if I uploaded like 3 or 4 of them a day, they'd all be uploaded within a week, and then I would have nothing else to do.
True. So
then I would have to do more work. You have to understand, I don't want to do more work.
You must be told. So if you're the type of person who's like me, I love the stories in video games, but oftentimes I lack the ability. Although BioShock Infinite, I've been doing pretty well for myself.
Yeah, you play on easy.
You played it on easy.
I played on easy for the purpose of us playing through it because I didn't know the game and I wanted to keep the video going.
Well, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm not terrible at the easy mode. Sometimes I can.
Well, that's because BioShock Infinite, like the original BioShock, is actually a very easy game because it's so balanced. Like, it gives you a lot of options, and if you find a way to break it, for lack of a better word, you can just blitz through it on the hardest difficulty, I imagine, and whatever.
All right.
Do them all in 1 day. Yeah, okay, I'll get right on that.
So, but if you are the type of person who likes watching video games or wants to find out the story, Let's Plays are a good way to do it. So if you're curious about BioShock Infinite, we do have a Let's Play on Dan's channel. What's it called?
YouTube /DJ Charrington.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just put a search in for search for Dan Video Ninja Games or something like that on YouTube.
Or it's his Playtime series. He has a bunch of games in there. and they're a lot of fun, so I'd recommend you watch them. Another thing that I should plug is for Debs and Errol. Errol couldn't be here tonight because he is at a convention, being all famous and stuff, I guess.
All the funds,
having
leaving
all
us to
the
man the fort.
funds, and actually he's heading back from Ottawa tonight. So, but Debs and Errol are releasing an EP soon, and Laura Hara just asked me to promote this. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's called Thunderclap. So what they want to do...
I've heard of that. I've gotten a few like responses from certain things that I'm a part of, like Extra Life, my charity thing, which we'll talk about in a bit. That'll just like, join the Thunderclap. I'm like, I don't know what that is, and if it's called a Thunderclap, I want to do a little more research before I just say yes to a Thunderclap about whatever. So.
Yeah, so Thunderclap is just it's a promotion tool, and if you go to the Debs and Errol website, they do have a comic from last week about it, and all you do is you sign up for it, and it means that on the day that the EP is released, your Facebook will automatically update with a post in your feed saying the Debs and Errol EP is released. It's so exciting. So if they get 100 people to sign up for this, that means it's going to happen. So it's the idea is that all at once there's a huge there's a huge influx of Debs and Errol EP mentions. Which boosts.
In social networks and everything, that's big traffic.
That's big traffic, which means that more people will see it. Yep. So if you have a chance, check it out. Go to the Debs and Errol website or go to the Debs and Errol Facebook page. I'm sure they have it on there as well. If you're in the chat, maybe Laura Hara can put a link up there. I don't actually have time to do the thingy things right now.
What's the EP called?
Control-Alt-Duets.
I love the title.
I love that title.
That's so perfect.
I've heard a couple of the songs because I was over at Errol's house while they were working on them. It sounds amazing. So it's a bunch of, well, I think all of you in here know what it's about. It's a parody EP. So that's coming out soon. Oh, they're good. Laura Hara has provided the
Thunderclap link Control-Alt-Duets EP release. So there you go. She put the link in there. Click that, and you're off to the races.
Okay, what else do we got to promote? And what we're going to promote next is Dan. You can take the reins.
Extra Life. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I'm participating in a charity fundraiser called Extra Life, which is happening. Oh, there you go. Ja-Mez threw up the link to us playing Bioshock Infinite.
Now, fair warning, because on Dan's channel, I'm not held down by the PG rating.
Oh yes.
So there is swearing.
There is language.
There's nothing like big or anything, but I do swear.
We don't descend into like anything offensive, but it's just we sort of let our hair down when we play that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So just be warned about that. But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, Extra Life. It is a charity fundraiser that is happening on the 2nd of November. It involves people all over the country, all over North America, in fact, spending a whole 24 hours, or 25 hours actually this year. They upped it for one more hour.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason, just as a gimmick or whatever. But it's 25 hours of gaming. So video games, board games, card games, whatever. But you have to spend the whole day playing games. And what you do is you collect donations to do that, and all the money goes to the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So there are a series of charity hospitals all over the country. I'm doing my charity, and I'm raising money for Sick Kids Foundation here in Toronto. And so far, I've been promoting this for the last few months, and we've raised over $1,000.
Over $1,000.
Just by myself and all my friends. Some of the people who are in the chat with us right now have donated. Thanks very much to you guys. My original goal was to hit $1,000 by the end of the charity on November 2nd. Since we've blown past that, now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to reach for $1,500 by the end of November 2nd. So if you go to extra-life.org/participant/the video ninja, that's a lot. That's a big spiel and everything. Maybe somebody, Ja-Mez or Mercenary Pen, maybe you guys can throw the link to my charity thing up in there. You can donate. Any amount that you donate is very much appreciated. You can donate any amount. If you donate, all the money, 100% of the money goes to charity. All and you get your money back on tax time because it's all tax deductible.
Woo!
So there's that.
Unless you're in Canada.
Unless you're in Canada? Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, so I've been lying to everybody for like the last 6 months. You know what?
I tried to claim it last year, and I just saw this little tiny caveat at the bottom being like U.S. citizens only. I think. Was it Extra Life? I think it was.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You know what? Now, there's a bell going off in my head right now. Ma Cherie tried to warn me about that last year.
Oh, yeah?
And I think maybe I just sort of glazed over it because that's what I do, so...
Mm-hmm.
I might have been lying to all you guys all this time when I said you could get your money back, but if it got you to donate, I don't feel as bad because it's still going to do a good cause. Anyway. So that's November 2nd. We're going to be doing live streams on my gaming channel, which is where you can find those Bioshock Infinite videos that Manda and I have done together. So we're going to have live streams and that kind of thing. We're going to have special guests. Ma Cherie, who is our cosplaying friend, is going to be showing up and doing some Let's Dance stuff on camera in a costume of your choice. You can go to her Facebook page and check out
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. What was it again?
Survey for where you can pick which costume that she dances in. What?
What was the website again?
Oh, sorry. extra-life.org/participant.
Participant? Oh, crap. I had it right the first time.
Pant.
/
the Video Ninja.
All one word?
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm going to update that. So it's actually going to be in the post. Where did I...
Bear with us, folks.
How do I update this thing?
Amanda is trying to navigate things.
So
yeah, we're going to have Ma Cherie on the live streams as well. She's going to be getting up and doing a costume of your choice. If you go to her Facebook page, you can vote on what costume. Witless is also going to be there doing a Witless letter.
Yes.
To a character that she hasn't done one yet. She's going to do it live on a live stream. And I believe if you go to her Facebook page, you can find a poll to vote on which video game character you would like to see her do a Witless letter to. Who's winning so far?
I don't know. I think actually Atris is winning. So you probably want to get a more knowable character in there.
Atris is from Myst.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You would have that one also.
I put that one in there.
Well, yeah, you put it on your Facebook page. People vote. All your friends who are all Myst fans anyway. They vote on him. Yeah.
But Terraria is also winning, and I might actually do two.
Wait, Terraria? Who would you send a letter to in Terraria?
I have a plan.
Oh no! I don't want to know.
It might involve Errol.
It'll definitely involve
Errol.
It has to do with Terraria. It'll definitely involve Errol.
But I'm gonna have to boost the post again, so I'm gonna post it again, get that going again, and I'll do another vlog to promote it. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's a really good cause. It's gonna be so much fun.
Errol's also slated to show up as well as a guest. Apparently, there are plans for him and I to do some gaming together. Which, if you know anything about Errol and the way he games, and you know anything about me and the way I game, that's why Amanda's smiling right now. So anyway, yeah, that's Extra Life. I've rambled about that enough. November 2nd, check it out. All the info's in the thing, and yeah. Back to you, Amanda.
Back to me. So, with all of that out of the way, thanks for bearing with us. There's a lot to promote this month.
It's charity work.
It's charity work. It's good. Why does it have to be November? Oh, come on. You can tune in for like half an hour on November. Everyone's always like, it's Nano. And I'm like, oh.
It's the second day of the month.
Do you spend like 24 hours straight writing? No. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to. I've been
Plus,
hearing.
I won't be live streaming the whole day anyway. In fact, I'm live streaming only on specific events. My Twitter account is probably the easiest way to get updates on what I'll be doing. But you could also just poke Manda and ask her what's going on, because she'll know what's going on.
Yes. Anyway, yes, that is Nano. Yes, I'm participating in Nano this year, but I'm going to be participating in Extra Life as well. So
yeah,
awesome.
Extra Life is just one day, and I'm the only one that's committing a whole 25 hours to it.
Yes.
Everybody else is just dropping in to help me.
We're just dropping in.
Because the rule I have for the den, I've actually talked to Jen about this. The rule I have is throughout the entire day, somebody, doesn't have to be me, but somebody has to be playing a game of some type.
Right.
So much like we did last year when you showed up, I'll just be like, all right, tagging you in, you play. I need to break.
Yeah, we did the dance game for a while.
Oh yeah, we did the dancing game.
Oh yeah.
It was embarrassing as all hell.
Oh, you're going. You're leaving me.
I'm getting a drink.
Hello, Matt C.
You were all set to do this whole thing by yourself. Now you're all worried because I'm leaving you.
Yeah, I'll wait for you to get back before we fully announce the topic. Well, they know what the topic is.
The topic is in the title, Manda. Plus the fact that you've been giggling about it.
Zucchini bread!
I'm not getting zucchini bread. Wow, there's a whole loaf of zucchini bread here.
Yeah.
I'm not getting zucchini bread.
Oh.
Not yet.
Alright. Anyway.
Don't just sit there and watch Manda eat her
No.
zucchini bread.
I'll start talking with the pop. So, with all of that out of the way, we are going to move on to our topic, which is, now because Ja-Mez couldn't join us here tonight, I was going to play. Oh! Sorry, Laura Hara. Laura Hara says that she was going to play during Extra Life. Okay, that's different. Anyway, so our topic tonight, I have this game that I love, Heavy Rain, and I kind of wanted to talk about it for various reasons. One is that I'm replaying it, so it's kind of interesting to see what it's like on a second playthrough, and then the other reason was that there's a new game coming out by the same game company called Beyond Two Souls, and I think it's out now.
No, it's not out yet.
It's not out yet.
I called my local game store here in Toronto, and they said it was coming out. I think it's out in the U.S. It might be out in the big box stores like GameStop or the Electronic Boutique or EB Games rather, or like Best Buy or Future Shop here in Toronto. But the little mom and pop game shop that I get my games from said that they won't be getting it until next week.
Right.
And I go by them.
So I saw a demo of it, and it looks awesome. This is the one if you pay attention to game news. This is one that Ellen Page is in. It stars Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe, and it's about a girl named Jodie who who is like psychically linked to this entity that they call Aiden, and Aiden is kind of, the way he acts is kind of like a poltergeist almost.
See, I don't know any about this. Like, Amanda showed me a little, like, told me that the game is awesome. I've checked out a little bit of a gameplay footage on YouTube. There was like this 20-minute video available on YouTube. I watched the first 5 minutes of it, then I turned it off and said, okay, this looks awesome, I'm just going to get it.
So, so it operates very much like Heavy Rain, only on a more, sci-fi kind of premise.
Yeah, Heavy Rain is very much like a film noir aesthetic, so it's a murder mystery. Where this looks a lot more like supernatural occurrences, but still a lot of heavy drama in it. But this was the game I think that Ellen Page was working on when The Last of Us came out, and then there was that big news story about her being upset about the main character from one of the main characters from The Last of Us bearing a very striking resemblance.
Well, you can even look it up. Look up The Last of Us cover. She does look like Ellen Page.
She does, yeah.
You look at her.
And it doesn't help that the fact that the character's name in the game is Ellie.
Is Ellie.
Yeah.
She looks like Ellen Page.
So Ellen Page got a little upset about that and everything, and that was that. But now and they tied it into the whole fact that she's already working on another game, and that's this game, which is now coming out.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, I shouldn't be reading chat. Anyway, but before Beyond Two Souls, there was Heavy Rain, and Heavy Rain was made by a company named Quantic Dream, and the kind of shtick of both of these games, at least from what I'm seeing of the gameplay, is that it relies very heavily on what are called quick time events. And quick time events.
Everybody here knows what a quick time event is.
Do they? I don't think they do. Do they?
Well, all the gamers know what a quick time event is.
All the gamers.
The best way to describe it really is traditional video gameplay involves using the controller to input controls where you usually control a computer player or an avatar or whatever. Quick time events are usually when a command just pops up and you have to react to it within a really fast period of time, and if you don't, something bad happens to you.
Yeah, like you get punched or something.
They were a gimmick that were introduced.
Dragon Slayer, wasn't it?
I don't want to go on record and say I know which was the very first game that introduced QuickTime events, but they came into popularity big time with the God of War series, as well as Dragon's Lair way back in the day was like the rudimentary version of it, because that was that arcade game where you had to input commands really fast or you would die instantly. But in contemporary games nowadays, they're sort of shoehorned in as a gimmick just to add some tension to any scene. because you just have to be able to react really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So it sort of ends this faux tension. A lot of gamers don't like them because they're sort of gimmicky and everything. But when you take a game like Heavy Rain, which is basically it's the only game, the gameplay mechanic is to its core just QuickTime events, then it gets a little bit more excusable because it becomes less of a gimmick in a traditional game and becomes more a niche game.
Right.
And but what's more selling about it, and which is the reason why people like Manda foam at the mouth over it, though, is because that's the main gameplay mechanic. Everything else is all about the story.
All about the story.
All about the story.
This is an extremely story-heavy game, and this is what gets a lot of players. It's a really good balance.
It's what divides a lot of players too, because players who have gotten accustomed to bashing games like the original Metal Gear Solid trilogy for being interactive movies with too much story and not enough gameplay, they take one look at this and then run to the hills.
Yeah. So just a bit of personal backstory. So I went to Dan's one day.
This is how Amanda discovered.
This is how I discovered Heavy Rain.
Because remember, it's a PlayStation 3 exclusive.
Right. So you can't play it on any other system other than the PlayStation 3. So I went over to Dan's.
At the time, you didn't have your PlayStation 3, but I had one.
You had one, and what happened was Dan was making dinner, and while he's making dinner, he's like, here, play this demo that I downloaded. And it was the Heavy Rain demo, and all it was you played this detective, and you went in, you kind of had to get into a fight. I freaking fell in love, right? And I wanted, it was film noir, it was
good voice acting, decent motion capture,
amazing graphics, and of course I was like, when is this game coming out and when can I play it? And then I'm like, it's only PS3. So the day it came out,
for me, I sort of saw it and everything, and it just sort of blazed over me because I dabble in a lot of different games and everything. And I just saw it and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cute. Maybe I might check that out if I got a free afternoon or whatever.
So I went to the Rogers back when you could still go to Rogers.
Back in the before time.
Back in the before time.
In the long ago.
I went to Rogers. I immediately looked for. Oh, I went the first time. It wasn't there. Someone had already rented it. I was like, no! So then I went the second time, and they had returned it like a day later. And I rented it, and then I went over. I kind of rented it without even thinking, like, maybe I should ask Dan first. So then I showed up at his house.
And it was a total fluke because she showed up on a Saturday early afternoon, completely unannounced, which is unprecedented for Manda. With this game, it's just like, I rented this game, do you want to play? And by total fluke, I had nothing going on that weekend.
Nothing.
So I was just like, sure, come on in, let's try it out.
So it ended up being like an epic. We finished the entire game in one weekend. It's
the first day we played like
game.
6 hours or so or whatever.
Yeah.
We were blitzing through it. Manda couldn't tear her eyes away from it, and I got into it too because A, it was a good game and I was getting into it, and B, I was feeding off of this next to me. And like 6 hours later, she's just like, okay, well, we got to go our separate ways because we got stuff to do and everything like that. Later on in the evening, or like early the next morning, everything, she just gets in touch with me again. It's just like, so, you doing anything today? I'm like, well, no, I don't really got much stuff. I was like, so you want to play some more Heavy Rain? I was like, fine, just come over, we'll play it again, and we finished it the second day.
We finished the second, it was like, I think I made dinner that day. It was like epic. We spent the entire weekend playing Heavy Rain, all in one go. And it remains to this day one of my favorite games of all time. And and people have been really growing on it. Like, it kind of took a while to pick up. It was critically acclaimed. The critics loved it, but the mass audience, gaming audience, they didn't pick it up quite as much.
It didn't really feed the Twitch gaming mentality of all the Call of Duty and Modern Warfare fans out there.
So just as a sort of background for those of you who don't know much about Heavy Rain. So Heavy Rain is about this guy. There's actually 4 characters you can play as, but they kind of follows one guy. It's kind of his story.
One guy can be considered the protagonist.
The protagonist. And his name is Ethan Mars. And early on in the game,
Ethan Mars is having a hard time.
Ethan Mars is having a hard time. Oh, by the way...
Spoiler warning. Big time spoiler warning.
we're not going to discuss the big spoiler, which is who's the killer, but we are going to discuss details in the game which you might want to discover.
This is the kind of game you want to go
yeah.
into. If you haven't played, you want to go into it as blind as possible because you want it's a murder mystery. It's designed for that kind of stuff. But that being said, it is 3 years old, so the statute of limitations is a little past right now. But we're not going to spoil anything big.
Matt, by the way, if you want to see the story, I would recommend the Let's Play. I would recommend is probably just look up the YouTube channel Far From Subtle. It's the video game's awesome, and I've watched that Let's Play, and it's pretty decent and hilarious. So I would definitely recommend that one. Anyway, so the main character, Ethan Mars. So
starts out, the very first thing that happens in the game starts out on a glorious sunny day morning.
It's the only sunny time
and it's like this guy wakes up in his house. He lives in this luxurious mansion that he apparently designed himself because it's nice and all intricately architecture. And his family comes home, and they're about to celebrate a birthday, and he's got, like, the most happiest, disgustingly cute, happy family that you could possibly have. So you know right off the bat, this guy is totally doomed. And sure enough, by the end of the prologue, some big tragedy happens.
Yeah, so since it's right at the beginning, like, he's in a mall, he loses his kid. He tries to find his kid, and in trying to find his kid, both he and his child get hit by a car, and his kid dies. Yep. So that's it. So the game proper starts off with so Ethan Mars' child. He has 2 children. So his second child, and when it picks up like a year, 2 years later,
his life is completely just
it's
falling
in shambles.
Apart.
He's divorced from his wife. He lives in a shabby apartment, and his kid, is kind of
distant.
But then his kid is kidnapped, because not enough can happen to this guy.
Yeah.
And
this whole story takes place in a unspecified city
Fluttermy.
Hello, Fluttermy. There's this whole story takes place in a city where there is a serial killer going around abducting people.
Called the Origami
Killer.
Yeah.
Named so because he leaves little origami figures at the scene of the bodies. It's, typical serial killer film noir fare.
Yeah.
So his kid gets kidnapped. So he becomes one of the 4 people involved in this whole kidnapping and everything.
Yeah. So the whole thing with the Origami Killer is that he always kidnaps children, usually during the fall, and usually always when it's raining, and when it's a really heavy rain, and he ends up drowning them. So
basically he does a little bit of a less psychotic sort of jigsaw killer thing, where he basically hides them in like a storm grate and then waits for the rain to fill up and drown them.
Yeah.
But while that's happening, he feeds clues out to everybody, to the father of the victim.
Yeah.
He feeds clues out to them in order for them to save themselves, and in doing so, trying to teach them a lesson about humility.
And on every one of his victims, after they die, he leaves an origami figurine. And even in his clues are wrapped up in origami figures. He's very thorough.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Quickly, congrats to Kari Marin. She won an Aurora Award for FanFilk. So, awesome!
I don't know what that is, but...
Yay! Anyway, so that's the basic plot. So there's 4 main characters. There's Ethan Mars, who we called Dad of the Year.
Yep. We have our pet names for this.
There's Agent Norman Jaden, who we called
Detective Babyface.
Agent Babyface.
Babyface.
He's an FBI agent who's investigating the case.
He's investigating the Origami Killer, like, in general. Like, he's like this slick FBI guy,
kind of guy,
and he sort of butts heads with like the rough and tough detectives who have been chasing this for a while now. But he's got his own. He's got a lot of like high tech tools and sci-fi sort of tools, and he's got his own sort of way of dealing with things. He's we call him Babyface because he doesn't look like he's got a lot of street smarts in him. He's relying a lot more.
He looks like Agent Mulder. He really looks like Agent Mulder.
Except like 30 years younger.
Except 30 years younger.
But he's relying a lot on book smarts and textbook stuff, and he's also battling a few demons of his own in the form of a drug addiction.
He's got a drug addiction to some future type of drug.
Yeah.
It's like called tryptophan, I think it's called. Then there's Detective Meat and Potatoes.
Detective Meat and Potatoes.
Yeah,
he is awesome.
His actual name is Scott Shelby, and
this is a guy that's right out of like old school 50s film noir guy.
Yeah.
He's this big
He's like
trench coat wearing,
grizzled,
meat and potatoes. Just his basic form of investigation is to go out and find somebody who knows more than he does and beat the hell out of them to get the information.
Yeah, and he's been hired by the families of the Origami Killer to investigate the killings.
Yeah.
And
his way is way different than Detective Babyface.
Yes. And then finally there's the one female main character who is we just called her Legs.
You called her Legs.
I called her Legs. Her name is Madison Page, and
she's like what a journalist or like an investigative reporter or something like that.
I think she's a journalist.
Okay.
Yeah, and she so the four main characters actually they don't often except for Madison the reporter and Ethan the dad, not a lot of them really interact all that much with each other throughout the game. They all kind of have their own separate storylines going
until the end, where they all just sort of mash together at the end. But that's the ending of any story, really.
Yeah. So what's really interesting about the game is that it pretty much is an interactive movie, and
yeah, best way to describe it. Really.
It is, and
for the most part, you're going to be just watching scenes of things play out. Like you have limited control of the characters and where they move and everything, but it's not like you can run and jump and parkour your way through like you could through 99% of other games. You're basically settled on most paths. It's not until you get into most interactions with other characters where you either guide their actions or guide their conversations.
Right. And now, characters can die in the game.
Yes, that's the thing. The game. There was a comment earlier and everything when we said we're not going to spoil anything. I think it was Ja-Mez who chimed in and said, "Which ending are you not spoiling?"
Right.
What he meant by that is the game can end several different ways.
Yeah.
Because it's an interactive story, that means that you can change the course of events in the game, and that can change the outcome of the entire story.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is, if, like, say, a main character, like one of those four main characters dies off, that's not the end of the story. The game doesn't go game over, restart. It goes, okay, that character's gone, let's continue on with that character out of the picture, and it just sort of adjusts its details accordingly.
Mm-hmm. So... And that's really cool, actually. Like, and the thing is, my dad played the game. He got, I think he got all the worst endings because first, Agent Babyface died on his watch. He got there's a character called Mad Jack. You have to like go to this junkyard.
Oh yeah, that's a situation where Agent Babyface really sort of proves himself, because we call him Agent Babyface because, like you said, he looks like this tiny little guy who's relying on a lot of tech equipment.
He looks like
he does not look like a guy who's ready to throw down if something goes bad. And he has to go out to like this junkyard and deal and interrogate or basically question this big, ripped, tattooed, ugly,
and even,
mean.
I laughed today because I played that level again, and it's just like, the guy comes up just like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "You could end up like it was."
He's trying to attack all tough and everything,
he's trying to act
but he's just
tough,
all pouty.
It's like a "oh yeah" kind of moment, and you're like, "Ooh, Agent Babyface, don't do that."
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he does have it's funny, like, the game takes place in 2012, I think.
Okay.
And we played it it was released in 2010.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like 2 years in the future. So for the most part, everything's about the same, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's contemporary. It's film noir, but contemporary to like the late 2000s.
Except
for Babyface.
Except for Babyface, who has like these glasses. Everybody else, you walk around, you investigate stuff, whatever. Agent Babyface has these glasses that you can put on, and
it's it's like what they they felt like Google glasses.
They're Google glasses, yeah. But but like super. He has a glove that attaches to the glasses, and that's how he looks for clues. So you can see he has a glove on that has a sensor in it, and when you press a button, he goes, blah, and this like circle of.
It's like radiation goes off everywhere, and it reacts to his glasses, and it tells him when there's like blood or like it's like kind of like the detective mode in Batman Arkham Asylum.
Oh yeah,
that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, and then he can investigate it and stuff.
Kind of like the visual novels, yes, except less reading and more played out voice acted motion caption scene. And the voice acting and the motion caption in it is not terrible. It's still like PlayStation 3 video game tech level.
Yeah.
But it's not terrible.
Now, the one interesting thing, though, is I like watching the progression of Quantic Dream's gameplay.
Oh yeah, because you also went back and played their prequel to.
Yeah, so as soon as I found out that Heavy Rain was coming out, but it wasn't coming out for like 2 months, I read somewhere it's like, oh, the same game company made this game called the Indigo Prophecy, or I think it's called Fahrenheit in the UK and Europe, and I was like, all right, I'll just buy that one instead, and it was made quite a few years ago. But it's the same sort of idea. Again,
interactive story where you have like QuickTime-ish controls over some of the more dramatic scenes.
Now, one thing I do like about Heavy Rain is that the QuickTime is integrated a lot better. So what happens in Indigo Prophecy, let's say you start to get into a fight in Indigo Prophecy, and all of the fights are like pre-recorded, right? You're not actually controlling the characters.
It's not like Street Fighter, where you control the moves, or you control, kick here, punch here, or whatever.
Yeah, you're watching a scene, and then every once in a while a button will pop up. But that's in Heavy Rain. In Indigo Prophecy, 2 big controllers. I think this was meant for a console. I was playing it on the PC. But 2 like color wheels come up, and it
turns into Simon.
It turns into Simon. It's a game of Simon, and I'm doing that. But unfortunately, I don't get to see a lot of the fights because I'm too busy concentrating on the colors, and they're right over the main action of the fighting. What's great about Heavy Rain is that the controls or the commands that pop up are very much integrated into the gameplay, so you're watching the movie still.
Yeah. And
you still feel involved in.
Basically, what it is you input every couple of maybe like 5 to 15 seconds. You have to make an input. If you make it in a timely fashion, then the fight, the scene of the fight progresses more in your favor. If you miss that command, the scene progresses more in whoever you're fighting's favor. So you're about to like wind up and slug somebody, a button will pop up. If you press it in the right time, you lay him out right in the face. If you miss that button, you swing and you miss, and then he gets a hit on you. So that's kind of how it plays out.
That's always, and it's funny too, because if you want sort of a more interesting fight, I think I read a review of this, is like they were tempted to just sort of let one miss to see the guy get socked in the face or something.
Yeah.
Because, but at the same time,
it sort of plays into the whole the live action or the interactive movie thing, because you sort of get to, in a very indirect way, you get to sort of direct the scene.
Even in conversations, so you'll be having a conversation with somebody in the game.
This evolved into what eventually L.A. Noire would implement with lie or stuff like that and everything.
Oh yeah.
I kind of felt when I saw L.A. Noire, I sort of felt that they sort of borrowed some influences from Heavy Rain.
Copycats.
Yeah.
Well,
because in conversations, what happens is you can get in a situation where you'll be conversing with somebody, and say you're playing Legs, and you're like out on an investigative thing and everything, and the origami killer is a serial murderer, so to dig for clues, you might have to talk with some rather unpleasant people, like say big jacked up dude that babyface, or there's a point where Legs has to infiltrate like a sleazy nightclub and talk to like the
nightclub scene,
the nightclub owner who's like this slime ball, leopard skin everything guy who you just have to sort of get information out of him. So you have to sort of negotiate your way through a conversation, and anybody who's played like Mass Effect or L.A. Noire knows what like conversation trees are. So it has that too, but it plays on the interactivity as well, because say your character is in a situation where he or she is like stressed out,
agitated
or everything like that, it doesn't give you like a list. It says press this for this option, press this for this option. But say you're drunk, or you're like hyper, or you're panicked or something like that, the choices may not be that clear. They might be floating around the screen, or they might be blurred out, or whatever.
They're always floating around the screen, actually.
Well, yeah, but they're easier to read, and they're easier to understand. It's easier for you to make.
When you're calm, you see it floating, but you see it floating clearly. When they're nervous, it gets shaky and it gets jittery, and you're not exactly sure which button to press because
One of the few downfalls that we had when we were playing through it, especially when Manda was playing through it, was that we got into a situation where she was she had to make a split-second conversation decision and she was under the gun, like there was a guy like coming at her with like a hatchet or something like that, and she had to make a split-second decision, and the decisions were floating around, shaking all over the place, and she's like, okay, I want to do this, and she pressed the wrong button, and she ended up doing something completely opposite of what she wanted the character to do.
Yes.
That's kind of, some people naysayers of the game might look at that as like a misfire or like
but it's really
a different way to, or like a bad way to control the game. But you know, storytellers will tell you that, you know, they love it.
Yeah, no, it's really cool because, you know, how do you think in those situations? You don't always think clearly, and you don't always, you know, like, you might panic at the last moment. So there's this scene in the game, and I have yet to run across anybody who hasn't done this, because sometimes following the QuickTime events is not always the right decision.
Yeah.
For instance, one is with Agent Babyface and his drug addiction. And every once in a while, he'll come up and he'll be like, oh my god, I need the fix and stuff. And if you want, you can follow the QuickTime events that will make him reach into his pocket and take the drugs right away. But that necessarily won't get you a good ending for him.
Yeah.
And so if you want, but we
say no to drugs.
But we get so used to the QuickTime events that as soon as I see one, I'll just respond, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do that yet.
Yeah.
And
the game tries to, or at least you should pick up on when you're playing the game, the fact that not doing anything is an option.
Yes.
Like, inaction is an option, and sometimes it's the right choice.
Yes.
So you have to learn that as a gamer. Remember when you and I were playing Spec Ops: The Line? I was trying to drill that into your head. I was trying to tell you that doing nothing is a viable option.
Yeah.
It may or may not be the right option, but it is an option.
Yeah.
So that's what this game sort of triggers on you as well.
Yeah, and so there's one scene, though, where you go into this, you're looking for the killer, right? You're going through suspects, and you go to this man's apartment, and he's like, you know, way beyond cray-cray. He's like, you know...
Well, he answers the door. He's like this old senior citizen who is just overly nice, but really sort of
no,
off.
that's not the one I'm talking about.
Oh, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Crazy Christian Man.
Oh, him, yeah.
Yeah, so there's this guy, you go to his apartment, nobody's there, you walk in, and there's, like, crucifixes all over the wall, and everywhere.
As soon as he pops into the room and everything, he just goes into the...
He goes into crazy mode.
Crazy...
Well, our jerk partner kind of antagonizes him, and he gets all agitated and stuff, and so you're trying to talk him down, and you're holding a gun to him, and it gets really tense, right? You're like, because your fingers are hovering over all the buttons, because you never know at any moment when a command is going to pop up.
And then it comes to a critical point in the conversation where he is on this breaking point, and he starts walking towards you or reaching behind him, and then this thing just flashes on the screen for like a half second. You don't get a chance to read it. You can either press the button or not press the button. Manda accidentally pressed the button, just not because she just freaked out at the reaction.
Well, he was reaching behind him, and I was like, oh my god, it's a gun! And when the thing popped up, I'm like, yes, I have to press this. And sure enough, I shoot him, and then he collapses, and he's just holding a crucifix. He just wanted to, like, you know, wash us of our sins or something. And then I felt so bad. And Dan, because I said to Dan at the beginning of the process, I was just sort of like, okay, we're going to play this. We are not going to turn back. We are not going to do anything. And I was begging Dan. I think I was like, I think you did let me do it again. And I did it again. And then you were like...
She did it twice, and she did the same thing wrong time because you're jittery when it comes to that kind of stuff.
You're so jittery, and so
there were a couple of times where Manda was like, the game got to her so much. Like, Manda's a bit of a Twitch gamer on her own because she freaks out over the smallest sort of thing. But there were a couple of times where I swear I was sitting right next to her. I swear the controller came flying across my lap because she was just trying to like, whoa.
Yeah. Because, I got the car driving one, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Oh, my God.
There's a section of the game where you have to play one of the jigsaw traps, as I call them.
So when you...
The jigsaw, or the origami killer tests the main character.
Yeah, so when your son gets kidnapped and everything, you get this box of origami figures, and each one is a test. And if you pass the test...
You get clues to where he is.
You get clues to where he is. So the very first test, I'm like, okay, what is this going to be? And you find a car, like there's a car in a garage you have to go to, and you get into it, there's a GPS, and the GPS tells you, like, drive to this address, and it's just the highway. And then suddenly it's like, this is your test. Drive for 5 minutes against traffic on the freeway, And then you'll get the little key card to tell you where another clue to where your son is. Oh my god. So up until this point too, the game's actually been, other than a couple of fight scenes, the game was actually fairly slow in starting up.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's film noir. It's not meant to be like balls out action.
No, it's not meant to be balls out action, but it's like, but still, like, that very first prologue and everything, it's like, what quick time event will we do now? Time to drink the orange juice, right? And everything's a quick time event in this game. And so, like, this is when things started to get really tense. This is a real, like, once this game starts going, it's an incredibly tense game. This driving scene is one of the more tense sequences, and I was feeling it along with the driver. The music's playing, and
every time like there's a car about to hit you right in the head, a QuickTime event comes up that you have to press a command, but it's not just like press this. It's like press this.
Yeah, it's like oh, and it's a motion control. So like the motion control. You have like
sometimes to turn the controller like a steering wheel.
You have to turn it like a steering wheel, or sometimes you just have to do this or that or something. And so yeah, when I was playing with Dan, I was panicking so much that I pretty much threw the controller, and I was, oh god.
So needless to say, Manda and I traded back and forth playing the game because there were certain parts that we just traded back and forth. When Amanda got too tensed up, she'd hand the controller to me, but I let her play as well, whatever.
Yeah.
But there was, I forget who was playing and everything, but there was one scene, like there was gameplay elements in it, like the car chase scene that give you really, really tensed up.
Mm-hmm.
But there were story elements too that sort of made you tense up and cringe everything. And I think the lizard challenge was the one that just was as far as a narrative thing, was just so hard hitting. There's a test where you have to like mutilate yourself. And it's something right out of Saw, but it's so much more powerful.
You can see it right in the trailer.
Because in Saw you don't care about any of the people that are in it.
You have to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to do
basically, they sit you down in a room full of just like every manner of bodily mutilation, like saws or blades or like rusty pipes or anything like that. And they're just saying like, all right, cut off your finger.
Yeah.
Do it in front of the camera.
Do you love your son?
And you have 60 seconds to do it. It's like out of Saw, but you're just you're pacing back and forth. It's like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it finally came down. I finally hit the button and he started actually doing it. I was
it takes effort too. Like, you're like, this is going to be quick, right? He'll just do chop. And it's like, no. He has to be like, and
it's like more like, wow, it's more gut-wrenching and more horrifying than anything that you see in like God of War or any of the bloody games that you can think of. Like Mortal Kombat's got nothing on Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is just kind of like, you're sitting there like, ugh. Mortal Kombat, you pull a guy's spine out, whatever, big deal. It's all just jam flying everywhere. But this, you're just kind of like, you hear him sawing into his hand, or you hear him clipping his hand out, or you're just like, oh.
Yeah, what's really interesting, too, about...
that was one of the high points of that game, that game for me. Oh, man.
What's really interesting, too, about the... about our gameplay, anyway, because we were... swapping back and forth, Dan and I have very... very different.
Oh yeah,
moral...
our characters were very bipolar when it came to us playing.
we have somewhat different moral compasses. So like,
we had a couple of not really, but
there was one moment. There was one moment where I begged Dan to do something. There's a challenge where I think it's one of the last challenges, and you have to it's like, are you willing to kill somebody?
Oh right, yeah, we had to track down this dude who was like a drug dealer.
It was a drug dealer, but he had children, and he was in a little pink room. So anyway, Dan was just about to shoot him and everything, and I was like, but he has children, and Dan actually listened to me then. He listened, and we didn't shoot. We still got there.
Yeah, we still got there.
It's all good. So you can actually choose not to go through with the... It's got a Saw scene. I'm definitely less interested now.
Yeah, but it's much better than any of the Saw movies.
It's not a Saw scene in that, it's not, overly grotesque or something.
Yeah, they don't actually show any of the spaghetti shots in it, but it's the fact that it's a character that you've been invested in up until now, having to do something so horrific, and you know his motivation. You know why he has to do it, but it's also something that's going to be really painful. So it's not so much the, showing a guy... showing all the gritty details. It's the fact that you're connected with this character.
Yeah.
You don't want him to do it. He doesn't want to do it. But if you don't do it, your son's going to die. So that's where it sort of hits you right in the balls. kind of comes right in your face, and you're just like,
Yeah. It's not like I think that's the only really gruesome scene in it. Like it's only gruesome in that it's you doing it. It's okay. I'm gonna spoil it for you. He's ordered to cut off the tip of his own finger. You don't actually see it, but you do have to control it.
Yeah.
And
so
depending
on you also have to choose which tool you're going to do it with, and if you choose to do it with a tool that's not that efficient,
if you choose the rusty saw over like the cleaver or something, it's going to play out differently, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of you know what a good analog is? If you played the Walking Dead games, there are a couple of scenes in there where you have to like say somebody's caught in a bear trap and you have to like take their leg off, otherwise you're going to get caught by the zombies. Yeah, trying to hack their leg off and everything like that, because you can't do it in one quick swing. You just like smack. Oh, the guy's screaming in agony, but he's still not free, so you got to do it again. So like that and then everything like that. Do not get turned off by this game by that one scene.
We're probably, by the way, guys, probably gonna go like 10 minutes over just because I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I'm having fun talking about this. So, but what Dan was saying earlier does tie into what makes this game so strong is its story.
Yeah.
And I've been playing it for a second time, and maybe a third, and there's certain parts of it that I'm much more nitpicky over now, but at the same time, it still holds up, guys. It's still pretty darned awesome, and now mind you, like it's film noir characters, right? They're not going to be the most three-dimensional characters in the world.
Yeah, they're a little arc, but it's still written well enough.
It's still written well, and it still looks great. And this is the thing with me is that like what makes the quick time events work is because the story is so compelling.
Yeah.
And you want to go on, and you want to figure out these controls.
And not only that, when you finish the story, when you realize that there are other ways the story could play out, you want to go back and you want to start all over, and you want to make different choices.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things you were always telling me about. It's like, can we go back and do that again? Because I want to see what happens if we actually did do this. And I'm like, no, let's finish the story.
Oh man, that nightclub scene was... So like it ranges. Like in one scene you have to like cut off your own finger. In another scene you're the reporter and you have to like go into a nightclub and try to...
Oh, you have to attract the sleazeball.
You have to attract the sleazeball.
The sleazeball is only attracted to really super hot
So the quick time events are like, undo the shirt and then like put on eyeliner.
Yeah, you have to like seduce. You have to seduce the guy. You have
to become sexy.
Yeah.
And
but there's also tragic parts that you have to sort of work your way through too. Like there's some of the later tests and everything. We have to go through that big giant electric field. That's just like painful.
Well, that's just it. Like I'm putting this guy, poor Ethan Mark. Like I was thinking today, I'm like, which of the four characters gets it the worst? Because they do
definitely Dad of the Year gets it the worst.
Dad of the Year gets it the worst. I'm trying to think who comes in second now. Scott Shelby gets beat up a lot.
Yeah, he gets in a lot of fist fights, and he gets in a lot of stuff. But he's, like you said, he's sweet potatoes, dude.
I think
he's got a lot of baggage, though. Like an old school guy like that, he's carrying around some ghosts in the closet of his own. Same with Legs. She's like the first scene that she's in is a nightmare where she has to like run around her apartment being chased by invisible attackers or whatever. So she's got some stuff going on up here as well.
That is one thing I'll say about the game. Like the prologue of the game is kind of like the tutorial. And it has like quick time events, like I said, like drink this orange juice.
Or when you're out back in the backyard playing with your kids, they're play fighting, but it's training you how to quick time event your way through the real fights.
But then it very quickly throws you in the deep end with Detective Meat and Potatoes. I think I got beat up in the demo.
Yeah, you did.
Because I was like, what is going on?
But that's the thing, though. You got beat up, and the story continued on.
The story continued on, right?
Yeah.
It'll change how people react to you.
So what I'm wondering is, with this new game,
yeah,
it's got a supernatural spin to it, sort of.
So from what I saw in the demos, there's a couple of different things about it. One is that the QuickTime events are actually, they're not always dictated. So if someone gets into a fight, instead of like when I swing my fist, the X button might appear above it. And
pressing it or not pressing it, it dictates whether you hit or
in Beyond Two Souls, what's going to happen is they'll start to throw the punch, and then it'll slow down, and you have to pick a direction. and it doesn't actually tell you what direction to pick. So I'm interested to see how that'll work, because I feel like it'll be kind of 50-50 on the enjoyment level with that.
You're just going for the story anyway.
I'm going for the story. But with what I saw, like the poltergeist thing, you can control it at some points.
Really?
So, I don't want to spoil anything for you. There's in the demo, there's a scene in the game where it's like one of those, it's like a lab test type of thing, you know, it's like, can you see the card that this person is holding up or whatever? And then suddenly you're controlling Aiden, and so what Aiden can do is pretty darn cool, and you know, it's like they're asking, like, can you make him move things? And so you can start moving objects, and you can choose whether you're gonna have him go like crazy and poltergeisty, and like the demo I saw, the players were just like spinning the room like crazy and stuff. But
oh man,
so,
I think if you and I decide to sit down and play that together and everything, we're gonna have some very bipolar poltergeists going on.
Legs in the nightclub scene, seduction all the way. Yeah. So the other thing with Legs, her name's Madison, but we call her Legs because
you call her Legs.
I call her Legs, but because even no matter what she's doing, she walks the same way, and I understand it's like they can only animate the character so much.
Well, they kind of use her as the selling point because film noir and whatever aside and everything, sex still sells. Like you look at the box art of the actual game, Ethan Mars, who is the protagonist, the main character, the character which all this story is focused around, he's behind Madison on the front of the box art.
Yeah, she's like first and foremost.
Any person looking at this story who is a genuine story lover and everything will tell you Madison's not the main character.
Yeah.
But yet they put her front and center because.
And like no matter what she's doing, she walks with like a ba-dunk, 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 and it's like, oh no, these cops are gonna come in and capture us. I have to open that window and like get Ethan over there. Ba-dunk, ba-dunk, ba-dunk. Like she always takes that time. Like I hope he's looking at my butt.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just another thing I'm gonna start nitpicking. Another thing I do notice more on the second playthrough is this is a French game. And the accents, you can hear them. There's some of them are British, some of the actors are British, some of them are French, and you can definitely hear. Some of them are pretty bad, actually. The voice acting itself is good, the motion capture is good, but the actual accents, like Agent Babyface is trying to be from Boston, I think.
Yeah.
And another one is,
or at least a New England.
The kids. I'm forgiving the kids because they're kids, right? How good are French kids gonna be at getting rid of their accents? Not good. So like
you have much more of a critical ear for that kind of stuff than I do.
Oh, you couldn't hear? Oh, there's one part like you play as two children, and like a flashback scene, and like this kid is trying so hard to sound like he's from the States. And he's like, move your ass! And it just sounds so unnatural. It's so
okay,
bad.
well, I haven't played the game in a while and everything, so maybe I don't remember that part.
So I guess what I'll sort of move on to, I know we've been rah heavy rain. It is really a great game, and the thing is, though, it didn't do that well when it was released.
Well, that's because, like I said, a lot of mainstream gamers take one look at it and they see an interactive movie and they just turn off immediately. And like that is one thing that will turn them off immediately, and that's understandable, but it's also tragic. But the thing is, that also sets it up to be a very niche game, and that's exactly what it is.
It is a niche game. It is an adventure game, and
much more interactive, though.
You know, adventure games can be interactive.
Yeah.
It is an adventure game. That's the thing, and
we all know how much you love adventure.
I love adventure games, but the way it was marketed, you saw the trailers for it, everybody got excited, and then they played the game, and it wasn't what they expected. And for some people, yes, that's a huge turnoff because they expected more action-y bits, and there is action, but it's not a traditional game action.
Yeah.
And
Top argument of it is, why wasn't this a movie? And that's, an old school argument from way back in the day when the first, three-dimensional games came out, like the Resident Evil or Metal Gear Solid games. They were like, why don't they just make this a movie? Why does it have to be a game? Why do we have to play this if you're just gonna take the controller away from?
Yeah, because, and I know that you're in agreement and everything, because the difference with a game is that you are more involved in this.
That's what makes those scenes like the seduction of the sleazy ball guy or the Saw scene or whatever like that. I hate calling it that again because everybody gets turned off.
Yeah, everyone got turned off when I said Saw. I was like, crap. No, it's not a Saw scene. That's the best way to describe it.
It's so much better than all the scenes from those movies. But anyway, that's what makes those scenes so much more poignant is the fact that you're invested in the characters because you've had input into their circumstance.
Yeah. For those of you who are afraid, actually, it's not torture porn, if that's what you're thinking.
No, it isn't.
It's far from torture porn.
No, it isn't. It's much more psychologically damaging because if you like stuff that really messes with your head and everything, it's like that because it's a character that you care about his circumstance, you have direct control over whether or not he succeeds or fails in his last chance at happiness, and putting you in that really difficult situation where there's really no pleasant solution. That's where it sort of punches you right in the face.
And the interesting thing is, even if you take the moral route sometimes, because I was talking with Dan about this earlier, there was one part of the game where you're given the choice to forgive somebody. And if you're playing the game, actually, I would actually recommend that you not forgive them. I wanted to forgive her.
Yeah, because you were taking the moral high ground.
I was taking the moral high ground, and Dan was controlling at the time, and Dan said, "No, she did a stupid thing. I'm not gonna forgive her." And so I was like, "Oh," and I thought that sucks, but it actually made for the more interesting ending. A really interesting ending. Like if you forgive her, you get like one of the most happiest endings there is.
Yeah. So it helps to, it's almost a case for, a game like this is almost a case for playing it with a friend or playing it with somebody who maybe you can discuss it with afterwards. Because if the two of you differ on how you play or whatever, then you can get a situation much like that and everything that's much more rich for you.
Yeah, it's fun. Actually, I showed my sister it. I introduced my sister to it, and she just bought her own copy. So I was like, "This is my copy. I got to bring it back."
Yeah.
But when we were playing, she was doing the same thing I was doing to you, which I think you were doing it to me too. Which when you're playing with somebody else, they can totally become backgamer because it gets so tense that you're watching the controls come up and you're just yelling them out at the person as you're like, R1, X, 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 because you have to press a button repeatedly sometimes, and she was doing that with me.
Yes, and you were doing that with me too, especially in the more tense scenes that I was driving.
It's really tense. It's really immersive. I mean, it's not a perfect game. The controls are a bit wonky sometimes, and sometimes like you're trying to wander around in this really tense situation, and you can't.
The old invisible walls sort of thing pops up every now and then because the game doesn't lead you around by the nose, but it does cut off avenues for you.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you can just wander off and do your own thing and everything. No, you're in a story. Play your part in the story however you want, but play your part in the story.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd love to see. This is the thing, though. It was, and still is, a really unique game. And I'm interested to see how it affects the way other games are made. And I think it is in some way. And but there's nothing wrong with an interactive movie for me.
As long as it's done well, as long as it has people with
proper
accents.
Proper accents. Now, this one coming up, so Beyond Two Souls, that's coming out, has Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe, and they have all-American actors. I have no problems with British actors or French actors. It's just when you're setting things in the States, it's really hard to,
The contemporary States.
The contemporary States.
Yeah.
It's harder to. You need a really good actor who can do that kind of thing that can do a really good American accent. And this is where I kind of criticize Quantic Dream a bit. It's just they wanted to sell the game in the States, so they set it in the States, right? But they had access to British and French actors.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can tell, guys. I think there's a very horrible Doctor Who episode called, I don't know, it's the pig episode. I hate the pig episode. And it's set in the States in, like, the 1930s, and I just cringe every time I hear one of those actors speak, because they're concentrating so hard on getting the accent right that they can't always pay attention to the actual acting job they're doing, like emotional acting. And that was kind of the case sometimes in Heavy Rain. Like, there's a girl in there, Lauren Winters.
Oh, yeah?
She doesn't bother to hide her accent too much.
Okay.
The prostitute that we come across.
The Shelby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can hear she's French, right? And she's pretty French. But at the same time, her performance doesn't suffer for it. And I don't know, I just feel like gaming companies shouldn't be afraid to set their games in locations, like in a French location.
1730s Louisiana.
Fine, just like all of your games in 1730s Louisiana. Yay!
That'd be awesome. Let's do that.
Well, the problem is, like, this is the thing, though. It was in, like, a generic American city. There's no specific city that Heavy Rain is set in, but at the same time, there were still European elements about it. Like,
Well,
the doorknobs,
it's supposed to take place in, like, a New England city. That's where it's all the rain.
Oh, okay. Well, no.
Like, yeah, it's either in Boston or New York or something like that. Probably one of those things. But coming up on the new game and everything like that,
Yeah,
you and I have plans to possibly
So we're
pick that up.
Yeah, we're gonna maybe try and do a Let's Play of that, of Beyond Two Souls.
It's probably going to degenerate into one of us getting the game and then just, doing the same thing that we did with Bioshock Infinite, because Bioshock Infinite turned out pretty well for us.
Yeah.
Except this time around, Manda might get to play a little bit.
I can't wait. The one thing about Heavy Rain and about this one, it really pushes the technology and the PlayStation 3's technology.
It'd be interesting to see, like, Heavy Rain came out in 2010. This new one's coming out 3 years later, so it'll be interesting to see if they've upped the tech a little bit, because you were mentioning that Heavy Rain's starting to show its age a little bit.
It's starting to show its age. It's 3 years old.
It's only 3 years. It's only 3 years old, and back then, and as of right now, it still looks pretty good. It looks good for a video game. Obviously, it doesn't look completely 100%, photorealistic and everything. But with the new one coming out with some supernatural aspects added to it, it could be interesting to see what tech can do, because PS3 is at the end of its shelf life right now, so it's probably going to be as good as it ever gets. So it'll be interesting to see if it can step up and deliver something at the end of its life.
From what I've seen of Beyond Two Souls, because the one thing I loved about Indigo Prophecy was the sci-fi aspect about it. Now, mind you, Indigo Prophecy went crazy, sort of weird places. Like, I was with it until about 80% of the way through, and then suddenly I was just like, what?
And then aliens?
And then aliens or
With
something.
crystal skulls
I don't
or
know.
something like
It
that?
got kind of crazy, and it had this really. I want to see if Beyond Two Souls does it, because Quantic Dream, the creator, the writer, whoever, always tries to shoehorn in a love story of some sort.
Oh yeah.
And usually there's
Film
a
noir
sex
fits
scene.
okay. Not
Film
too
noir
bad.
fits okay. There's usually a sex scene in it, and in Indigo Prophecy, it came completely out of nowhere. It's like these characters who met for like 2 minutes. One of them, she was a cop, and she was actually hunting him for most of the game. And then like they met up, and misunderstandings were understood finally, and then all of a sudden it was like, sex. What? And then she's like, I love you, and I'm like, what? And I thought she was pretty messed up, and in Heavy Rain, it's a bit better in Heavy Rain, actually. They handle it. They at least get to know each other, and you can at least chalk it up to it's a traumatic.
Yeah, dire straits.
Dire straits. So of course that happens. Mercenary Pen says, try film noir in 1625 Paris. Done. Let's do it.
Yeah, you'll never get a AAA game released with that. Sorry. Not going to happen.
So, Beyond Two Souls, though, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do, because it seems like they're going back to that sort of sci-fi aspect of it. And Quantic Dream has a really good reputation so far with story. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed.
So the timing couldn't be better now that we finished up Bioshock Infinite. We can just jump right into that.
We can just jump right into that.
So you got that to look forward to.
Yeah. And, yeah, now, we'll mention one last thing. We're not spoiling who the killer is, but I would like to mention our reaction to the revelation of the Origami Killer. I just remember being like, whoa!
Yeah.
It was surprising.
Yeah.
That's just another chalk up to the story.
Yeah, that's just it. The story's got good chops. You won't see it coming.
Yeah.
We'll tell you that.
So if you get a chance, if you have a PS3, buy Heavy Rain. Honestly, buy it.
It's on the PlayStation Network, and it's usually on sale.
It's usually
you can probably
on sale.
get it for dirt cheap, probably cheaper than you could get it for retail, unless you're like a...
Retail's about $20 now.
Oh, is it? Okay, well then there you go.
At least don't know eBay. It's $20.
eBay.
eBay is $20. Retail, I think it's about the same, maybe 25.
Yeah.
Which is still pretty good, actually, considering.
I usually try to trumpet the sale of it on the digital side, because if you buy it brand new on the digital side, if it's a game that's 3 years old like this, a little bit of money still goes back to the publisher. If you get it off eBay or if you get it used or anything like that, nothing goes back to the publisher.
That's
and
true.
No game store nowadays is going to sell brand new versions of it for.
But seriously, try it out. Quantic Dream is doing things with storytelling in games that not a lot of mainstream
games
are attempting because of the money risks and everything.
Yep. It takes a lot of money and a lot of time to make these kind of games, so they're putting it out there. They're really risking it in order to get those to put something like this out there, because they know they're not going to make their money back like, say, a new Call of Duty would, because they're not making a game that everybody's going to buy and that's safe and everything. They're making something new that's wild and out there, and we like that kind of stuff because
we like that kind of stuff. If you love a good story, if you love a good mystery, this is a good game to play.
Yeah.
And it is a good game for the casual gamer. They even have difficulty levels for you.
Really?
Yeah. So like the one difficulty level is like.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah. When I went over to my sister's place, there was the difficulty level of It's like, I've never touched a PS3 controller in my life. And then the next one up is like, I sort of have played a bit, maybe, and then I think there's 4 in total, and the final one is like, I'm a machine, or something like that,
I'm using tools to assist me.
Yeah, so, there's all sorts of difficulties, but even if you play it on the easiest, it's awesome. Yeah. So go for it. Or if you don't have a PS3, watch a Let's Play of it. I'd recommend it. Try and find a Let's Play. If you don't like commentary, try and find a Let's Play without commentary.
It will not be that hard. It will not be that hard, because as many of them out there with commentary as there are equally amount. Typically, Let's Plays are with commentary. Gameplays are without commentary. So if you're doing a search on YouTube, just look for Heavy Rain gameplay, and you'll find somebody out there who has a numerically listed series of videos where they play through the entire game. Even punch in the words "no commentary" into the search bar. That'll narrow your search down to exactly what you're looking for. Yeah, but really, we really enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. And a new one coming out next week. And there's a new one coming out, and I can't wait. And it looks amazing, and it's awesome, and it's yeah, half of your status updates about that thing were just basically just slap typing a bunch of random letters. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Okay, so we are going to sign off for the night. I don't even know what time it is. Quarter after. Okay, that's about when I said. Thank you very much for joining us. I just really wanted to talk about Heavy Rain and what makes me love it, and what doesn't work about it sometimes, and that it's probably one of the better games out there, like that, in terms of different. So thank you, Dan, for joining me tonight, and I hope that I'll see you at Extra Life at any rate. I hope you guys will join us there.
You can find us on YouTube, and you can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on Twitter. 3 Geeks in a Pod, the number 3. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And next weekend is Canadian Thanksgiving. So I'm thinking that all of us will be unavailable. I know that I'm going to be out of town with family. I'm thinking Errol's probably going to be with his family, and Ja-Mez is probably going to be with his. So we probably won't have a show next week, but we'll hopefully catch you the week after. And we'll be signing off. I'm not Dan.
And I'm not Manda.
Yay!
Yay!
Good night, everybody!
Take care.
Woo!